started doing content creation because I wanted to be better. I actually used to stutter a lot. I used to say the word like a lot, which is something that I'm working with, towards improving. But I never got out of that shell. I never did. I can be very loud in the classroom. I can be very loud, whether it's around friends, but I was never comfortable talking or educating someone on anything. And so the past year, I was just doing videos, whether it's about my faith, whether it's about something funny that happened, or even just an experience that I had. I ended up just reading, writing, and coming into terms with how do I make something more nuanced? How can I become a better speaker?
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Moderately Mic'd. I'm your host, Jason Maxine. Today I'm joined by Ryan Aleman, a rising senior at Walter Johnson High School who's become known for creating meaningful conversations through his communications club and social media. Ryan has built a platform centered around helping people better understand one another through curiosity, thoughtful conversation, and storytelling. Ryan, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Jason. The pleasure is completely mine. So
to get us started, tell everyone a little about yourself and what you're involved with.
Well, wow. This is something that I've never actually been asked about, but I really consider myself as someone who is always trying to be aware, always trying to be educated. I'm currently involved in my own club, communications club. I'm involved in DECA. Outside of school, though, I make videos online, either for myself or just to educate others, whether that's on reading, whether that's on just like something funny that I found online. And I also work at my church. I work as a assistant for my school of religion, which is some of the main things that I do in my life. Outside of that, I wouldn't say there's really much to me, like what I do. I pretty much do the same thing every day. As I'm a rising senior now, I'm having to write now a lot of like my college essays, so I'm mostly just centered on that, the SAT. So yeah, that's what I'd say about that right now. So.
And you spent part of your childhood in Peru before moving to the United States. How has growing up in two different cultures shaped who you are today?
Oh, absolutely. So Peru has been something that has been granted me so much, whether that's just like my culture, my family, they're just them giving me so many lessons, and just more importantly, just the morals that I've learned over time. I spent a lot of like my childhood years, like for say like 5 to 10 years, either just moving. So I actually didn't stay in Peru for that long. I moved to El Salvador, in which I stayed there until I was 11, and then I moved here. So I've been living here for the past seven years of my life. But just learning the two different types of cultures is completely like surreal. Like coming in here was just a lot of translating for my mom, if I'm being honest, and just trying to pick up the different types of like ways people talk to each other, the way that they present each other. It's just the amount of perspective that I'm getting out of the people that I come across on is just, it's very like interesting to me, because I always try to see things for what they are. I'm always trying to become more engaged and educated. And so now I've sort of become distanced from like my time in Peru, as opposed to now, because I feel like I'm mostly just been living here in the United States for so long. But at least until now, I think just seeing the two cultures has really made me more like open to so many different like experiences, open to so many different people. So yeah, that's what I'd say about those two different things.
And do you think like having those experiences with two different cultures gives you a different perspective than some of your classmates?
Oh, absolutely. I think that context is also very important. When I'm learning about these people, I'm also asking them, where are you from? What do you do? Why do you do it? I think that just talking to my different classmates has made me understand that everyone is going through their own thing. You know, everyone is always doing something that's either meaningful or meant to be sustainable. And so I could even tell you right now that someone like, I interviewed someone from SGA, Mia Andrea Malala. She has been someone that has been working for the past 4 years, and just getting to know what that comes with, just a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifice. I'm coming to be like, okay, I also want to do that. And so just getting the different perspectives from somebody who is not only doing something for a long time, but also because they're doing it for everybody else, not just for themselves, has really opened me to just doing something more meaningful, so doing something more intentionally, you know? So that's what really keeps me going, just seeing what other people are doing, seeing like the hardships that they had to go through makes me realize that, hey, if they can do it, so can I.
Mm-hmm. And has it given you you a different perspective on communication or leadership?
Honestly, the biggest thing that I'd say is that communication, I don't think of it like just verbally speaking. I think of communication as a form of expression, and so that can be limitless. Like when I started the club back in November, there's this, when you make any sort of club ever, you're sort of in between like two things. You're either very fun or very like educational, but I wanted to not be limited to that at all. And so when I came in and created the club, I just wanted to have a mix of both and make it so that people can just go out there and be themselves. Obviously, it's now been, transitioning to be something like what you're doing now, journalism, trying to really create a platform where people can really just shine and show off what they're doing. But that's the way I consider it. I think that communications is something so intimate because people get to really know someone for who they really are. Whether that's just it's either long or short conversations, it matters so much because you pick up the little things and you remember them and you take them in for what they are. So that's what I always try to do when it comes to communication. I'm always trying to really learn if there's any deeper meaning, and if there isn't, what can I at least learn from it?
Definitely. So let's go back to like the beginning a little bit. Like what was it like? How did it start?
So, again, we started in November. We were mostly just 4 people. It was me, my ex-secretary, and my ex-vice president, and my friend Noah, who was, I believe, he was treasurer. And so, obviously, as I mentioned before, we wanted to be very educational. So our first ever lesson was introductory, like who we are, what do we do, and then the next lesson after that one was on morals and ethics and how do you do that throughout a conversation. And then we got into this weird period of time where it was like, okay, what are we doing? Where's the club going? What is the vision here? And my two like ex-vice president and ex-secretary, they left. And so for a good 2 months, I wasn't doing anything. And so it really had me in this period where I was like, what am I gonna do? Is it gonna keep going? Is this the end? And I remember making a video on it. And I was like, okay, most clubs, they're pretty much like kind of self-centered. They're kind of secluded to themselves. Like if you ever go around my school, they're really fantastic clubs doing their own thing. But besides that, you don't really get to know them unless you can get inside their classroom. So I was like, how can I make it so that I can create a platform where people can see about their clubs and be educated on them? And that's where I came up with it. It was honestly just about interviewing people, but then it was about actually painting like the picture, the culture of the people at Walter Johnson. And that's what made me just feel like, wow, this is also amazing. I get to learn people. I get to go out and talk about what these people are doing. And that brings me so much joy. So 2 months passed. It was February. So I got my social security number and it said legal alien allowed to work. I don't want to get political or anything, obviously, but I was really mad about this. And for whatever coincidence, a ICE protest was happening around the area. And so I had always been seen as someone who's like always willing to go out. People have told me, Ryan, you are a leader. You are someone who has a very strong voice. And I never understood that until that moment where my friends are like, you should go up and talk about what you think. And I told my story. And now, while many people in front of thousands would have thought, hey, this is something that I could do, I realized one important thing, and that was that if there are this many people willing to go out there and work for either just one specific problem, then think about what that means about our community. It means that there's a foundation out there that really needs to be built. It needs to be strengthened. And so that's what made me, pivot from what it was to where I am right now, where I'm working towards expanding. I'm working towards making it so that I'm not only seeing people at just my school, I'm seeing people like the superintendent, like the mayor of the state, or anyone else that's really working towards doing something that's bigger than just themselves. And so I spent my time interviewing so many people. It was so much. I remember one time my friend Ebony, and I love her to death. We had to interview Black Student Union, and so my cameraman wasn't there at the time, and I was like, please give me a second, and I just ran around the entire school looking for Ebony, and she was there, and then we got the interview done. So that's kind of like what happens on the day-to-day. Like if I'm interviewing someone and I don't have my cameraman, I know who to count on. So it's just fun. I love the experience, and I love where this is going, and I love the process of even just coming together and then building a stronger community. So.
And you said you weren't always someone who was comfortable speaking up. What helped you overcome that fear, and how did it change your life?
So that's a very great question. So I started doing content creation because I wanted to be better. I actually used to stutter a lot. I used to say the word like a lot, which is something that I'm working with, towards improving. But I never got out of that shell. I never did. I can be very loud in the classroom. I can be very loud, whether it's around friends, but I was never comfortable talking or educating someone on anything. And so the past year, I was just doing videos, whether it's about my faith, whether it's about something funny that happened, or even just an experience that I had. I ended up just reading, writing, and coming into terms with, how do I make something more nuanced? How can I become a better speaker? How can I be someone that can say something and it's concise and it makes sense, right? So making videos has been something so good for me. It's been making me someone that can actually think about what they're saying before they speak it. And so I found it fun. And I think when you do something and you find enjoyment in it, you become substantially better. And so how has that changed me personally? It's made me someone who's willing to go out and shake somebody's hand before they even go up to them. I'm somebody who's willing to go up and tap their shoulder and ask, hey, what do you think about this? Why do you do this? I'm someone who's willing to just compliment. I used to I practice this almost all the time. Whenever I'm walking by on the streets and I see someone, I say hi. And then even if they don't say nothing to me, I'm fine, because I got to say something to someone. I made them feel acknowledged, and I used to not do that a lot. So just seeing just how that has helped me out, just become a better speaker, just become someone that's willing to go out there and just be themselves, it's worked wonders.
That's really cool, especially how you've grown from it and then put it into your real life too, right? Not just the show and not just your interviews, but you're applying it to your everyday life. So many students hesitate to put themselves out there because they're worried about what people think. What advice would you give to someone who's waiting for the right time to start?
There's honestly, I think that's the biggest lie ever. There's no such thing as the right day. If I'm thinking about harvesting something, I'm not gonna wait for the best day for it to rain. I'm just going to keep doing it. And I feel as if a lot of people are scared because of judgment. I was scared because I was being judged too. I think judgment is something that will never leave us, at all. And so there's no right moment. You just have to start. I started the club and I did it. I was looking around for my sponsor. Literally the first person to ever give me a shot, Miss Karen Only, boom, did it. I didn't even have to think about it twice. You have to just jump at the opportunity, because there's these great ideas that flow through your head. They come in like a meteor crashing, and the second you don't figure that out, the second you don't do something with that, it's gone. And it's over time, as time passes, 5 years, 10 years, and you think about the great, phenomenal idea again, you're gonna think, I don't have enough time. And then you're gonna give yourself an even bigger excuse. So just start. Whatever you do, just don't even think about it more than once. The point about risk is the fact that there's something good once you get to that point, once you overachieve that goal. But even if you don't achieve it, you still get to say, I experienced so much throughout this journey, and I experienced so much, and it has taken me this far. And even though I haven't gone to where I want to be, I know that I am working towards that. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's something I tell, I have a lot of interns and stuff, and I tell them, I really encourage them to not only work with me, but to try to build something that they're passionate about, because that's the way with social media, and there's a lot of opportunity for people that go after what they want, and otherwise, you're just gonna be kind of the normal path, which there's nothing wrong with that either, but if you want more opportunities to put yourself out there and to just try, 6 years ago I started this. Yeah. I had no idea it was going to become this. I just wanted to get information out there, very similar to what you're saying, and it just kept growing, and now it's a thing. So, but I think that people don't realize that it's really just putting yourself out there and then continuing to work. Put in the work, and you can build whatever you want with that.
Yeah, no, honestly, be uncomfortable. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think a lot of people say that a lot. I've seen it because I watch so much sports. If you don't know how to do something right, learn it. Learn. That's the biggest thing. You have to have an open mind. And even if you don't know how to, just start. That's the biggest, that that second you shift your mind towards that, it makes you a completely different person. And even if you don't do it today, because people drag consistency so much. I may not work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I might work Monday, I stop Tuesday, but I still did Wednesday. And so when you still do it, when you still have passion, when you still, even if you're disciplined and even if you love it, if you keep doing it, it'll pay you back in crazy dividends.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's the other myth, right? Is that, like, oh, you got to do this, you got to post every day, like, if you're going to do it, but like really, nobody's counting. Nobody's being like, oh, he didn't post today, like, nobody cares, right?
No.
And people like build this in their mind, like, oh, I can't do it because I can't post every day. Well, a couple times a week, or maybe you skip a week even, right? Like, and then you just keep going and building.
Yeah. It compounds over time. Like, that's literally the eighth wonder of the world, compounding. It exists. You just gotta keep stacking, and then when you look back at it, you have such a ginormous wall. It makes you feel so good about yourself. And then when you look back on how much you've done, the amount of sacrifice you've done, that's when you look at, and then you say to yourself, I feel proud about myself. I feel proud of what I've been able to do here. So. And that's why I'm taking it upon myself, where I'm looking back. Every time I look back at the Instagram and I'm like, okay, when did we start? Oh, Remaker Mai, the superintendent. Wow, what happened throughout that process? What made it so that I can get there? What made it so that me and my team got there, because I love them all so much. But how did we get there? And you think about it, and that's when you start reminiscing, oh, we did this, that was funny, this was really important. And then that's where you really love what you do. That's where you fall in love, because there's so much history behind anything that you do, and it matters to you so much because, again, it's a very intimate part about your life. It might be short, but when you think about it, it really builds for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And social media often rewards attention more than authenticity. How do you stay true to yourself while building an audience?
Well, I think honestly, when it comes to social media, I tend to say this to my friend who's really popping off. He has 11,000. Over the past year, he's gained millions of views. Authenticity is the root of all good publicity. That's the thing that matters the most. If I'm going out there and putting on a persona for people, the second that mask comes off, people won't like me for who I am. So whenever I'm posting anything online, I'm like, would I really say this? Am I saying this just to be funny? Am I saying this to get a giggle off of somebody? If I were to look back at this, would I be like, hey, that was Ryan, or was that somebody else? So what I tell to anyone when it comes to content creation, make a plan, but don't limit yourself. Again, a form of expression is it's boundless, it's limitless. When you come in and you give out information, whether that's something about, for say, gym content, to either something like funny, either something about books, you're doing it because you love it. So again, never put on a persona for anyone. Never do that. You have to build a community around people who like you for who you are, and that will pay you again in so much. Because the second people really start seeing deeply into who you are, as much as that might seem like really bad for you, at the end of the day, that's literally how the internet works. People are always trying to see deeper into who you are and what you've done, because they're going to hold you accountable. But if you are true to yourself, they'll like you for who you are. And that's just the attitude I take in any time I come in for either an interview or whether I'm doing a video. I'm doing it because younger me would love to have seen that. They would have loved it. Little me would have been like, this guy's the funniest person of all time, or this guy's actually it's astonishing. I would have never thought he would have ended up doing this. But I always do it because I love it. I do it because I want to make people who I resonate with. I do it because I love doing what I do. That's why I do it.
And you've mentioned books a few times.
Yes.
What kind of books do you like?
I love almost anything. I've mostly been reading, I just finished reading Stranger. It's about absurdism. I honestly like reading a lot about economics. I just finished reading Behavioral Economics by Thomas Taylor. Oh wait, not Thomas Taylor, but I've been reading for the past year. Funnily enough, I've read over 10 books. I'm thinking I have names.
What genres?
Okay, I can't really.
Mostly nonfiction?
No, mostly nonfiction.
Okay.
I'll give you that. Mostly nonfiction. But I love just reading as a whole. It gives you a lot. It's kind of like an exercise. You always have to exercise your brain. Right now, it's mostly like literature. So the Stranger, the book that I just talked about, that's literature again. And so I've been wanting to get more out of my comfort zone and read more fiction. So yeah, that's mostly what I do. I love journaling as well, like writing down. Like when you read a book, you really, again, you have to comprehend what you're reading, So I spend my time not only just reading, I spend my time also just being like, oh, okay, what did I just read? What do I think about that? So that's what I tend to do a lot. I can't give you some names right now, but my favorite book of all time is Chase the Line. It's a book on religion. It's Catholic. It's a great story. It made me cry, actually. Yeah. One of the pages was about love, and so I'll give you just what happened here. So this guy was out. It was nighttime, and so as he was walking around, they hold this man at gunpoint, and they're like, okay, if you don't give us your money, we're going to cut you into pieces. And what made me cry was the fact that this guy was, besides being held at gunpoint, he was like, you could cut me up into 1,000 pieces, and all 1,000 pieces of me will still love you. And that made me break my heart. So I really love reading books that are meaningful and that just open my mind, open my heart. So that's why I love reading so much. It's like, again, perspective. You get to learn more about yourself. You get to learn more about what people think. And so that's why I spend my time reading. Right now, I'm trying to get more into philosophy, economics, a little bit of finance, literature as well as another thing. But that's where I'm sort of indulging myself, more like nonfiction, I'd say. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a big fiction reader, but I listen to like a lot of podcasts and nonfiction type of stuff as well. A lot on like entrepreneurism and business and stuff like that. 'Cause that's where I'm trying to learn. Right. That's where I'm not as good at. So going back to like the original, how it started, it was more of a discussion group before evolving into like an interview platform. What led to that like shift?
So, honestly, I saw it just as a place for people to come by and be like, hey, what's up? What are we talking about? Oh, this is someone who thinks about this. Maybe you relate to that. It was basically like a debate club, just not competitive at all. That's what I really pictured it at the time, just a place for people to come in, chill, see friends. That's what I really pictured initially. And then obviously we were a new club, and that's one thing I realized. Like, you don't, at the end of the day, if we're going to talk about how many members were at your club, that's for clubs that have been founded over years. I'm going to talk to you about my friend Jonathan Tam. He does FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He has been working for the past 4 years. You go into one of those meetings, there is 30 people there. I am not there, but guess what I can do? I can make videos and get just as much out of what he's doing out there, just like getting in these meetings the same way I'm doing it on social media. So that's what matters a lot. I think that meetings were something that was pretty dry. There weren't that many people ever. It was just friends coming in. And so what really switched was just, okay, what can I do differently? And so putting myself online, just making videos about educating again, just on the different clubs was really a game changer for me, because no club has ever done that before. I think that there are a lot of clubs doing a lot of amazing things, but they don't publicize it. And so when people come in and they're like, oh, okay, just another club, they're like, okay, where can I see what they're doing? Where can I actually see through and really become more educated again? Where can I learn more about what these clubs are doing? So that's what really changed it. And then again, that's how I help others grow. That's how I help other clubs be like, okay, this is an amazing club. What do we know about them? This is what they do. This is why you should join. So that's really what changed it all for me.
And it's worked, right? Like we found you, and I've interacted with you, and I've seen some of your videos, and like that was great. Yeah. And it really has expanded your ability to, make a difference and get out there more. Mm-hmm. So it seems like it's a really good decision. Yeah. So looking back now, what are you most proud of so far, because you're still early in the journey of building the Communications Club?
I think just getting 10 interviews. I think getting Leol to be my 10th interview was really what cemented just like the impact. We ended up getting 30,000 views, ended up getting 400, like at least 500 likes. Like, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but think about 500 people in the same room as you. Think about 30,000 people in the same room as you. So what that really made for me was like, okay, we've done a lot so far. Because Leol was definitely someone who transitioned from just being, okay, we're just a club at Walter Johnson, to being a club that just talked to the representative of 156,000 people. And so that was one of the most proud moments of my life. I think just being there and just being like, okay, where are we with the Montgomery County Public Schools? How is the system looking like so far? And just getting Leol, the 49th student member of the board, that really meant a lot. So I would say that would be my proudest moment. Besides just that, getting just a group of 10 people that is willing to work towards better, like improving the club was also something that I loved a lot. I think just creating videos, anytime I create a video, I feel like I've achieved a goal. Every time I'm like, yes, let's go, made a video. But I think those little things add up. But if I were to really say what was my proudest moment is when we got Leo. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, you said, oh, it's not that much, but what people don't realize is that when you're talking about, a county of 1 million people,
Yeah.
right? A school system of 156,000 people, like this is a large percent of those people.
Yeah.
Like when you get like, we're not working with like a global audience, right? And you got 5 million views. Well, there's not even that many people in the county. I mean, every single person watched it 5 times, So I think it's very impressive what you're doing and very cool. And I think it's great, that you're getting to continue to, find more people to interview, and you're going out, we were talking beforehand about some people that you're trying to get.
Yeah.
And I think that's great, and, to keep building on it. And, I think also it'd be cool to keep seeing some of the stuff that you do, like without the interview people too, right? Like there's some interesting content that you've made that too. And so you've interviewed students, educators, and community leaders, and you'll soon be interviewing the MCPS superintendent.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for conversations like these?
Okay, so first of all, I have to do my due diligence. Who am I dealing with? Who am I talking to here? Obviously, when it's someone from like my school, I'm like, okay, I can just have a normal conversation. I can sit down. It's like a coffee chat. Like, who are you? What do you do? Whatnot. But now, when I really have to deal, like, especially my first interview with Remake or My, I was sitting in my chair sweating the night beforehand, just being like, okay, what do you say? What do you say? Oh, oh, maybe that was wrong. That doesn't sound right. And then now, as I'm building towards having more nuanced conversations with people who are they're working for the system I'm living in, then I have to really go out of my way to become just a reader, because I've never read journals. I've never been reading magazines as much as I have been now that I'm going to be talking to the superintendent. I'd say that something that kind of works for me, it's kind of embarrassing, just talking to yourself in the mirror worked a lot for me. It worked wonders. Just recording myself, taking myself more seriously has helped me a lot. So when I'm preparing for an interview, first of all, I kind of shake myself. I'm like, this is just an interview. At the end of the day, when you shift your perspective towards it's an interview to just a conversation, that's when you really have the that's when you have the best talks ever. So that's just shifting the way I see who I'm talking to makes me just a lot more relaxed, makes me work a lot better. So I for sure think you do the same thing too. I bet you're like, okay, this is just a conversation that I'm having with someone. This is a friend of mine. This is someone I can trust. This is someone who I can sit down and be like, hey, how are you doing? And then crack a joke or two. But that's what matters a lot for me. When I'm prepping, it's not about if I'm doing things right. It's about I'm doing it. And like, not a lot of people can, but I'm here getting away out of my comfort zone and just being relaxed and just have fun. That's the thing. Have fun. So
Yeah, I love that. So I'm put you on the spot a little here.
Yeah.
If you were interviewing me right now, let's flip the table around. What would you ask me?
I think I would ask you why out of all the people that you've been interviewing, who did you find the most interesting, and what have you taken from them that has made you sort of change the way you work in here at the least?
Oh, all right, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
So, let's see. I think that I would say, Justin, the artist that I interviewed him, he's a very strong advocate in the community, and I think what I took out from, like, a lot of the other people are more used to speaking to like a crowd.
Okay.
And he really puts himself out there, even though he's not as comfortable doing it.
Okay.
And I really appreciate that. Like for me, like you, maybe some of the other people, like they're very comfortable in here. They speak to a lot of people, but he's typically doing art and advocacy, and still he keeps putting himself out there, and it's really brave, I think, that I take a lot from them. I mean, there's been some really great interviews, and a lot, like the one I just finished right before this was a very strong business entrepreneur, and there was a lot of stuff that he said that was like kind of the stuff that I need to hear to like build my business, to continue to grow it. So I think, yeah, those two were probably two that kind of stuck out in my mind.
Who's your most fun interview?
The most fun, well, unfortunately, that one didn't. I interviewed Alex Saronis from the Moco show,
Right.
and the audio didn't work.
Okay.
But you know, him and I have a lot of like, we've worked on some projects before, so we have a lot of chemistry already,
Yeah.
and we were able to just kind of like really have fun. And it was the first one I did, so it was really good to get that kind of out of the way with somebody I knew, with some get the nerves out of the way. But yeah, that one was a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll redo it, and it'll be just as fun.
I have to redo my interview with Leo. I don't know if you saw it, but the quality of that video was so bad. We filmed it on an iPhone. We had our cameraman come in last second and be like, I can't do it. So now I'm really looking towards getting like a set cameraman, and so that's the thing. We ended up posting the video and it was super laggy. I remember Loyo calling me and he's like, what happened? And I'm like, oh no, what do you mean? And he's like, look at the video. And I'm like, oh golly.
Was that one live streamed?
No, all of our interviews are pre-recorded. And then I think he was nervous too. Like there were so many times we had to redo it, and then he was like, phew, like he was like, I did not say that right. I stuttered a little bit, but that's the thing. That sort of just happens almost every other day. Like it's just part of the interview process. Like it's normal. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And has there been an interview that like completely changed your perspective on someone or something?
That's a great question. Who can I think of? I can say again, just like it sounds pretty, like the concept sounds pretty odd, but I interviewed three club presidents at the same time while making like a duo interview with my friend. His name's Toby Velas. So it was me and him, and then we interviewed three clubs. It was Southeast Asian Union, South Asian Student Union, and Asian Student Union. I know that. I tried to say that 3 times. But we interviewed them. And so what I loved the most was just their upbringings, how much they've been working together, because usually our school does assemblies, and they had this amazing, very beautiful assembly. And so what really made me think about that is, hey, what am I doing for my culture? What about the Hispanic, Latino culture? What am I doing for them? And so just seeing how they started really opened my mind, because after just the conversation, we had such a long conversation, and obviously a lot of people don't like they don't like long-term content. But when I left there, I was genuinely so amazed by how much work these people put in and for how long they've been doing it. Like again, I know I just referred back to FCA. They've been doing this for 4 years. Same thing with them. They've been doing it for 4 years, and there's people building just these dynasties, these amazing clubs, and that's what I love so much. Because that's what makes them so important to the diverse culture of Walter Johnson High School. Because they've been doing this for so long and they care about it so much, and I feel like when they don't get the representation, when they don't get the love they deserve, it makes me feel some sort of way. So that's the type of impact I hope to one day do as well for my club. I hope that it keeps being, built into something bigger than what it already is by different people, not just me. So yeah, that's the way I'd put it for myself. Just that interview was genuinely something bizarre. It doesn't really happen. Like imagine you interviewing 3 different people at the same time.
Yeah.
But it's like, it was so worth it. I loved it so much.
Very cool. And you've said that asking good questions is more important than having the right answers. What makes a really good question?
A really good question is one where you're vulnerable. I feel obviously you don't want to ask a question not knowing what you're really asking. I feel like that kind of sounds weird, but your question has to be backed up by some of your own ideas. It obviously has to come in with a little bit of skepticism as well. I think a lot of people care too much about saying something correctly in a way that makes them sound better. No, you have to make something that will make you better. You know what I mean? So asking good questions is about taking in whatever you take in, whatever this person gives you, whatever knowledge that they give you, take it in for what it is. Don't let it go from this ear and straight out the other. My mom tells me that all the time when I'm like not doing something or when she doesn't tell me something. Let it marinate. Then, if you're gonna ask another question, build on top of it. Don't ask something that's completely different, because unless you're having a coffee chat, go back to it. But if this is someone really important, ask a question intentionally. Think about it. If you don't think before you speak, you're not going to ask a good question. And if you don't have some sort of research, if you don't do your due diligence, and then you ask a question in hopes of them giving you like another hint to what to possibly ask, then you're not going anywhere with that question. So be open, be honestly as aware as possible, listen to every little thing they say, and then you can build upon that question. So that's the way I would say a good question is. There's no such thing as a bad question. That is such a myth. And then again, just be vulnerable. Be willing to learn. That's the main thing. That's the key.
Yeah, it's something that I've had to learn also, which is, you can sit there with your phone and you can read the questions off, or you can try to like memorize them or what have you, but like if you're not actually listening to the answer, if you're just thinking about the next question, then you're not really interviewing them, right?
Yeah.
You're just speaking.
Yeah, no, that's the first thing that I had to learn. When I had my interview with Rumay Ramai, and then the next person was Anna John. She works for MCR and NSJ. She's amazing. I was just literally thinking about, okay, you got that question. I had my phone right here on my lap, and I was just like, oh, okay, she answered that, whatever. What's the next question? Then I answered. I was like, it wasn't really that good. So when I interviewed my third interview, that was a lot better because it was actually a conversation, and this person felt like they were actually being seen rather than just spewing answers like they're a robot. So that's
Right.
what makes it so much better. Just have a conversation. Just make it conversational. That's it.
And that kind of goes in the next question, which is like that you often have said communication isn't just about public speaking, it's about understanding people. What does that mean to you?
Well, understanding people is again just something that builds over time. You can't just understand someone just by simply just having one singular conversation. You have to come in and keep that attitude of just always being questioning about what they do, why they do it, how they did it. Again, just what that means to me is that if you're not willing to at least build upon what you've already been learning, then you're not really learning at all. And so what that means for me is everything. If I'm not going out of my way to just learn as much as I can, then I'm not really going anywhere. I feel like that literally just limits you to anything. So that's what I'd say, if that makes sense.
No, that does. And so you said you're interested in economics and politics, but often bring the conversation back to like the people behind the numbers.
Yeah.
Why isn't it so important to not lose sight of the human side of politics and statistics?
Yeah. So,
policies.
Yeah. So there's this great quote. It's like, when one person dies, we call it a tragedy, but when a million do, that's just a statistic. I feel like over time we've become so desensitized by numbers because at the end of the day, we've put them down to just simple numbers, and that is so that breaks me so hard. There's so many people that are experiencing these things, and again, like the unemployment rate, it's at 4%. But think about that 4%. Who is that 4%? That's millions of people. And we don't care about that any day. We don't know what their stories are. We don't know what they're going through. We don't know why they got to this situation in life. And then when you really just leave them to that breaks me. Because you're not mindful about them. You'll never care about them. You'll never think about them. And so there's this other quote that I thought about. My dad told me. It was, when they came for the soldiers, I didn't care. When they came for the people, for my people, I didn't care, but when they came for me, it was too late. And when that quote, at least when I heard it for the first time, when my dad told me it, was that if you don't care about the people that are suffering, then you don't think that there's going to be a support system for you. So when I think about the people that are there, the people who I'm not aware of, the people who I'm not aware of right now, they're still doing something out there. I can't just think about that's what made me get out of my comfort zone so much. When I think about how much the system has been given back to me, if I'm not really becoming more engaged in it, then what am I doing in the system? What do I need it for? Why am I even here for it? I'm not really using it to the best of my ability. I think that when people are put down to just simple numbers, it's terrible. I think that people should really, that's why storytelling is so important. If people don't really know what's happening or what's going behind the scenes, then they don't really care. They won't really trust that system. And the first thing that comes with accountability is transparency. If people can't see it, they can't believe in it. That's one thing Layol told me. He's going to visit every single school and see things for himself, because if you can't see it, again, you cannot believe it. You cannot believe it. And that's why so many people make decisions. That's why a lot of people are mad about what the Board of Education has decided, because they don't feel as if they're being well represented. And when you see those 415 job cuts, you just think 415. You don't think about the person who just lost their job and now has to move to Virginia. You don't think about the kid that now doesn't have a social worker to help them out. You don't think about that. You never think about the stories that happen behind those people. You don't think about the stories that have been built over time. You never think about that. I don't think anyone even minds that. And that's why they don't care. Or that's why they think that the system is corrupt. Or that's why they think that the system isn't what it is. Or they don't think that at least the Board of Education isn't working towards making a fair, equal system. So stop with the numbers. Stop thinking about the numbers. Start thinking about the people. That's what I'd say most. Because if you never go out of your way, then the day that it'll be you, once you become the statistic, you'll be heartbroken. You'll be heartbroken.
Yeah, no, that's very powerful. And
Yeah.
I think that's also, a big part of what you're saying, right, is the storytelling, right? That's what you're able to bring with the communication club, right? And your passion and just, going from this is a number to, hey, this is why it matters. Here's the people it matters to, and showing that, and I think that's really cool, and like something that we're both kind of doing, right? Is building on the storytelling, right? Because I could just say, oh, here's this person, and I could write an article about it, but it's not going to be the same as getting you in a room and asking you questions and stuff like that. So I think it's very cool, and I love that we're both doing very similar stuff, and
so we can relate.
Both interviewing some of the same people even, and I think that's really cool, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you out here. Like, you're actually the first student that I've had out here.
Wow.
So you have that
What
privilege
an honor,
and honor, but I think that it was important though also for me to kind of come back to, we focus on schools and government, but like the people in it, right? Like if I'm not talking to the students and I'm not seeing what the students are saying, then why should I be talking about schools, right? Wow. So I think that's really important. And I try to I've worked with over 30, 40 student interns now with Moderately Moco, and
that's awesome.
It allows me to see a different perspective. And I've really grown with the students in a lot of ways, some student organizations in the past several years, and that's been really a cool experience. So you believe leadership starts with listening instead of telling people what to do.
Oh yeah.
Why do you think listening is such an underrated leadership skill?
Because how do you expect people to listen to you if you're not willing to listen to them? That's so contradicting. If I'm not here listening to my people, and they don't think, if I say something, if I say A, that's why I think about leaderships, like there's supposed to be like a democracy. If everyone's willing to do it and everyone's on board with it, if everyone's on the same page, then it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna flourish. But if you as a leader, I'm not willing to have an open mindset, then you're not a leader. You're a dictator. I'm gonna be so honest. You're a dictator. But honestly, if I'm not willing to listen, I'm not willing to learn. And learning is so important. Having that open mindset, being able to be like, okay, why am I doing this? How am I doing this? Then you'll never progress. You'll never be able to. So learning is so important. The same way you can talk to someone for the next 3 hours of their life is the same way you can listen to those 3 hours and then come up with a deeper conversation even just for 1 hour. So at the same time, you must be able to listen. If you don't listen, what are you doing? Just don't be a leader. Just don't. You have to listen. It's the core.
Yep. And I think that's a lot of the disconnect between the bureaucrats and the politicians, right, and the people they represent, is that lack of listening, or like, I only want to listen to people that agree with me, right? Like, okay, if 50% of people agree with me, 50% don't, I'm only going to pick that 50% that agrees to listen to, and I'm going to pretend that I'm listening, but really it's me just self-selecting the people that go already with what I want to do and pretending to listen. So that's one of the things that drives me nuts with some politicians, where it's like, they're like, yes, I'm listening. Didn't you see this session that I had? But really, it's they only wanted the people that agree with them there, and their preconceived notions. So another idea that I really liked that you had was building a community instead of building a resume. Can you explain what that means?
So I think a lot of people, and I've seen so many clubs do it over the past year, I've just seen random clubs, and there's no shade. I love it. They're doing it because they want to. But again, if there's an importance with intentionality. I think I can view this with almost anything. For say, I'll give you, when I was voting during the student member of the board elections with Remaker Mai and Leolda Way, I actually made a video on it, and I was like, okay, if Remaker Mai were to win, people, if the voting was done by adults, Remaker Mai would, in my opinion, dust the floor. She checks off the full box. But then again, when the whole process of her marketing campaign, in my opinion, wasn't really telling a story. So when people hear about her, they're like, okay, she's just trying to take the boxes. She's just another politician. She's just another, like, they know that she was educated, but she didn't really paint that much of a story, in my opinion. And I told her about it. I told her one of the main people working with her about it. They took it into consideration, but like overall, I think that when you do something just because you love it, then people will come in. They'll come in throwing themselves at you, because again, intentionality is something important. I could have just been doing this. I could have just interviewed the superintendent, put it on my college essay, be like, hey, I interviewed the superintendent, and then just call it a day. But what about the superintendent? Why did you interview him? Why did you interview those other 10 people? So that's what matters to me the most. Am I doing it? Why am I doing it? If I were to look back on the interview, why did I do it? How did I feel about it? What were my emotions? So what it means to me is everything. If I were to have never done this, I would have never been here. And it doesn't matter if I hadn't been here. If I could have not been doing the most out of my community, I couldn't be learning as much. I wouldn't be the person I am. So when you do things just with an end goal of surprising others or making yourself look even more shinier, it's never going to get you anywhere. It's not. And I think just building your resume can be good, but building character is something different, and that's better.
And that kind of almost answers, but goes right into the next question. So what's the difference between having an influence and making an impact?
Okay, so an impact is something, there's different ways to look at it. Making an impact is something visible, was like having influence is having the ability to have others make an impact, if that makes sense. If I'm going out of my way to have some influence on somebody, that's great. That makes them feel a little bit of passion inside of them. That makes them feel like, hey, I can do that. I can do this too. And that's what I love about making the communications club, because I can influence others. But if I can combine those two things together, that makes something even greater. Impact is something that can be visibly seen, in my opinion. It's either something where I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Something happened here. But an influence is something that can't be seen on a paper. You have to see it for yourself. You have to. It's something that's visually seen. It can't be something that can just be put on paper, if that makes sense. But an influence is something so mysterious to me. It sort of happens and it sort of sometimes doesn't. But yeah, that's the way I'd put it. Influence and impact are two different ways of the way in which they both happen is so different from one another, but they can interact with one another. And when you mix those two things, it's pretty much unstoppable, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I've definitely experienced that as well with with my work, and there's the two ways, and when you can combine them, then it'll go. So if you could teach one communication skill that every student should learn before graduating high school, what would it be?
Oh, that is a great question. I think authenticity. I think people try to read too much into a person, or they'll try to read too much. Like I can get the idea that you have to read the room, but then if you're not being true to yourself, if you're kind of, I guess, code switching in a way, that's not really gonna get the most out of it. So again, I could talk about listening. I could talk about how you should be moving your hands a little bit more, maybe talk about getting to the real nitty-gritty stuff. But one thing I have to say is just be yourself. If you're going to talk to someone, do it intentionally. Be able to just get yourself out there a little bit more, get them interested a little bit more on you. I get that a lot of the interviews that I have, they are mostly driven for people to know a little bit more about the person. But then again, just be true to yourself. Show a little bit. Show some color. Show who you are. Give them a little bit of who you are. That's what matters so much. If people know you for who you are and you're able to just give that, they'll love it. And so yeah, that's the one skill I'd give out. Just be yourself. You don't have to be somebody else. Everybody else is taken. You don't have to do that. There's no need for that. Yeah, but just be yourself. I love. That's why I make videos online. Like if you were to have seen me when I was little, I was doing that stuff all the time. Whether it was just recording videos on my 3DS or even just going around annoying my mom, and just like it's just who I am. That's who I want people to see. There's nothing else that I could possibly be besides Ryan Aleman Reyes. Like that is who I am, and that's what people will get from me.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That you said, why be anyone else? That's
Everybody
great.
else is taken, yeah.
Yeah, yes, I love that. So as someone who interviews people yourself, what's one question you think everyone should ask more often, but almost nobody does?
Why do you keep going? Why do you keep going? Why do you keep doing what you do? I think there's a difference again with like just going back to the resume thing. If your goal, there shouldn't be no end goal, you know. I think it's something that's supposedly just it must keep being built. And so when you go out of your way to just do something and you're like, okay, why am I doing it? At some point you limit yourself. You're like, okay, I want to stop. Why do I? But you have to look back on what you did, why you did it. So why do you keep going is so important to me, because that really just that tells a story again. Why did they start? Why do you keep going? So that's what matters a lot to me. Context matters a lot. Why? Just the reason, like even just the word why. Why? That's what I'd ask. So yeah.
That's great. And you said that basketball is a big influence in your
yeah.
life,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
following Isaiah Thomas.
Yep.
What lessons from sports had carried over into everything else you do?
I'll tell you the biggest one of them all. So I used to play a lot of basketball. My mom used to take me to the rec center almost every day. I was up in there in the morning, day and night. What I learned a lot about basketball is its tenacity, is the amount of the love and passion that you have for it. I'm a small guard, so obviously when I'm playing and somebody tells me something, I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I get to like score on them. I get antsy, I get agitated, and I love. That's where literally just all my colors come out, just how all my personality comes out. So I think the biggest lesson that I learned from basketball is the way that I can just redirect my hard work towards anything else in life. I worked so hard. Obviously, I didn't get out there. I didn't get to play for the basketball team. But overall, just seeing, okay, if I can put this much work into anything, if I can put this much work into basketball, I can put it into anything. And that's for any passion that you have. If you can see yourself, you could switch and be something completely different. But you've seen the amount of work that you've been able to put through into this work, into journalism, into interviewing people, and have that same attitude towards anything else. That's what matters so much. Seeing that what you're capable of can be literally shifted towards something else. That's what matters so much to me, because I realized that. I didn't realize that basketball was going to come out and be the last thing that I was going to do. I realized that I could do so much more than that. I could replicate that same hard work. I could replicate that same tenacity that I had in the basketball court when I interview someone, or when I'm talking to them, or when I'm creating a video and just letting my mind go free. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's great. And like, I love that, because like we all have that stuff we're passionate about. And people tend to be willing to put in the work when you're passionate about something. It is hard. There's a great quote that I heard, was somebody said, asked him like, "What does discipline mean to you?" And the guy responded saying, it means getting up early, going to the gym. And he said, well, you like getting up early and going to the gym, so is it discipline? So it's like, transporting that stuff that you enjoy and you're passionate about, and taking that energy and putting it into other things, and then they can fly also, right?
Yeah.
So we're living in a time where people often seem divided. What gives you hope for your generation?
What gives me hope? Just how creative they are. I see myself someone so willing to get out there and put my ideas. When I made my video for the interview for Leo and we were making the video, my mind was just flowing with ideas. That's whenever a video idea hits me, I'm just, boom, I have to write it down. Again, it's just like a meteor, it comes crashing. If you don't do something with it right now, man, that puppy is burning. You got to do something with that. So honestly, just how creative people are. So just how willing they are to do something is just like that's something incredible. So that's what makes me want to keep going. There's the amount of people that are doing something around our area in so many different ways is astounding. That's what I love so much. People have different ways of doing something, and that's what's amazing about it. No one's limitless.
That's great. And if somebody watched this interview and remembers just one thing from everything we've talked about, what would you hope the lesson is?
That anyone could have been in my spot. Anyone could have been the one just being interviewed by you. Anyone could have been the one just interviewing Leo. Anyone could be interviewing the superintendent. I remember when I got to Leo's swearing, and I saw this one kid, his name's Sebastian. He told me how he really wanted to get to how he really wished he could be part of SGA. Again, these are just labels. When you go into a club and you're like, hey, I'm part of DECA, hey, I'm part of MCR, it's just a label. You have to create something on your own. You don't have to be part of something to say you're doing something for the community. That doesn't really make much sense to me. Just go out there and do it. You don't really need to be. You don't. Why are you handicapping yourself? There's no need for that. Do something. Just start. Again, if we go back to the interview, just start. There's no reason for you to be like, if I'm not here, if I can't, how am I supposed to explain in my resume that I created something on my own? You did something on your own. Yeah. That's amazing. So literally just don't feel like you have to be part of something in order to do it. Just do it. There's no reason for you to think that you have to, have the skills. You build that over time. So that's what I'd say.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, and you can see, like, you're here with me. If you were doing just the same thing that's been done for years in a specific club, like, you'd be able to put that on your resume, but how would that have drawn more people in, more interest? So I think it's really amazing, like, what you've done here. And excited to see where you take it. So before we wrap up, where can people find you online and follow everything you're working on?
Yeah, so we have the Communications Club on Instagram. I'm thinking about transitioning to something like TikTok or Twitter. Personally, on myself, you can just find me at Ryan Drop Him Off on TikTok. Even that.
How do you spell that?
Ryan, RyanDropMoff. That's on TikTok. That's what I'm mostly on, just making funny videos and whatnot. And then you can find me on Instagram at Ryan Aleman Reyes, RyanAlemanReyes. But you can even just find me on my actual personal account, which is just that. So yeah, that's where you can find me. Always shoot me a text. I'm always willing to obviously be talking to people. I'm always appreciative of people showing interest. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Great. Ryan, thanks so much for coming on the show. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think one of the biggest takeaways from today is that communication is not just about speaking. It's about listening, asking thoughtful questions, and creating opportunities for other people to share their stories. Those skills matter whether you're a student, business leader, or trying to build something in your community. So thanks again for joining me on Moderately Mic'd. And thank you for everyone watching and listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode with someone who would enjoy it. We'll see you next time on Moderately Mic'd.